Um, what inspires me to write is a lot of what I'll be talking about tonight in the Voice Masterclass, which is the things that fascinate me personally. Often the reason I start writing about a certain subject is because I'm trying to understand why something's happening in my life or the world around me in a specific way. I'm very curious, so I can see something, say someone passing in the street, and that sort of that idea will cling on to me, and then I know that if it clings on for long enough, I'll have to write about it eventually. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, hugely important, I think. What I would say is that it shouldn't come at the expense of the narrative or the prose or the building of the character. You're not just grabbing someone by the throat for the sake of grabbing them by the throat. So it has to work in both ways. But it's no secret, and I'm sure the people who are watching this and visiting your website know there are so many books being published. There are so many debut authors now, and getting that good start at the moment is really essential, I think. Sort of naturally. I don't want to make it sound like it was easy, because nothing about writing is easy, and we all know this, and that would be a lie. But it was so. Janie's life was based on my own, as many debut novels are, and so I had a lot of that sort of stored up. I say that I had my mum in one ear telling me stories and my grandma in the other, both amazing oral storytellers. Where it was slightly more difficult was when, because the novel spanned 17 years in total, making that transition from sort of a very innocent childlike voice to something that was more aware and slightly more adult, and slowly stripping that back. And that was a little bit more difficult, but a real pleasure to have that challenge. So difficult, Claire. It's a much more difficult novel in lots of ways technically, as I'll talk about this evening during the masterclass. I don't consider myself a very technical novelist, but Thirst is over 3 timelines with alternating perspectives and 2 different voices. One of the most difficult things is that one of the characters is a man, Dave, and so I was trying to portray a sort of masculine experience as a woman. But again, like as a writer, I think, especially for your second novel, where you've really got to cut your teeth, I think the challenge was there, but was kind of relished as well. You want to get better. I get up, I eat some toast, I stay in my pajamas till 2. Typically, I have a set number of words that I try and write, and I did that with my first book, Tony Hogan, which I wrote very quickly. I wrote it in 6 months, and with my second, I try and write 1,000 words a day or more, first draft, and I write that very, very fast, and then I go back and I try and edit maybe 10 or 15 pages a day, as I do my revisions. And that, having those small chunks of time where I'm really, really focused, has been the only way I've found that I can be productive. So. Well, I think we can all agree that I swear too much. I overuse words all the time. I think there are words that are almost like prose tics, so I use lumps. There were millions of lumps in Tony Hogan before I went to tick them all out. And sometimes I'll be writing a scene I'm writing something into a scene that I find really interesting, and I'll realise that I've already written that in something else, and it's just something that I'm kind of fascinated by that I go back to. But that's what editing's there for. You go through the process and you get rid of those. I was enormously fortunate, and I always feel slightly bad about that, because I know many authors who've really, really plugged away, and I really admire that determination. But I hope that at least this shows that it's not always impossible. So I won a short story competition in Australia. I hadn't been writing for very long. It was the first competition I'd entered, actually. And Juliet Pickering, who works at Blake Friedman, who's now a literary agent, heard about it and said, "Oh, I'll read some of your work if you want to send me some." And I had maybe 7 scrappy little stories, and I sent them to her, and she said, and in my cover letter it said, I might write a novel, but really I had no intention of writing a novel. I didn't know how to write a novel. It seemed impossible to me. And she sent back a lovely, very complimentary letter saying, I really like your writing, especially the stuff about your own background. And if you want to write a novel, send it to me, then I will read it. And so I took 6 months away from my job working for an NGO, an AIDS NGO, and went to Vietnam, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I never really thought that I'd get an agent or I'd get published, but I did know that I really want to write a book, and I didn't want to regret not doing that. And when I came home, that book was Tony Hogan, and I sent it to Juliet, and Juliet signed me. And then a few months later, Chateau Lindus bought the book. So I was hugely, hugely fortunate, and I cannot say that enough. That is a lucky story, and I am so grateful for the luck that I had. The same that I offer to everyone, just get your backside on the seat and write. If you're not writing, you will never write that book. And if you do write, then you've got a chance. You know?